Okay, so continuing our series here, and as you who have followed this so far have noticed, it's been a bit about Linux, more specifically Ubuntu Linux. And first of all, I want to just say that these videos I just record pretty spontaneously as I feel like, and I don't claim any kind of exhaustive knowledge being given here. I'm basically just inviting you to my own desktop on my own computer and showing what I'm doing, because it just struck me that, well, maybe someone would be interested in it. And I will later on, again, more, I think, zoom in on and focus on the field where I normally work, and that will be about how to use a basically open source computer system like this that I'm describing now to doing some serious work, especially in the media, graphics and audio and video and all that department. For those of you who may work in that field and feel a little wary about the status quo at present, and maybe want to run your business, your studio, whatever, with open source tools like this. Because what I mainly just want to convince you about is that it is possible. And I am doing it. I'm not running a big studio or something like that, but small time, which many of you are doing also out there. Self-employed, independent studios or little companies like that. So anyway, we'll get back to that. I just wanted to say what's the what this is all about, because it's going to be a little messy. You're just now watching me uploading a video to YouTube, which might be very interesting to see. You want to see my Facebook? No, not today. But here I am, and I said in the last episode of this that I was going to show how to install Ubuntu. Now, I'm not going to get into all this kind of technical installation guides and this and that. They're already there. I just want to give a more overall view and, a little bit of how, but mainly why this is good, why you might consider getting into these kind of things that I'm talking about. And those who are tech people, IT people, who are really, technically into these kind of things and interested in these kind of things for operative systems and programs and hardware and software. Most of you probably already know all this that I'm saying here. So I'm basically turning to people who really want to or have to or just do use these digital machines in their daily life for whatever reason, and who do not want to feel like technicians because of doing that, who want to get that out of the way. And that's, of course, why many such people, professionals, I use that word a lot, is basically just because I turn a bit to professional people who have this as their job, because this is where I am, and it's a little different then. You don't do this for fun. You just do it because there's a job that you have to get done. and you need to have tools that do the job. You can't sit, fiddling around with bugs in your operative system to try to figure out how to do the simplest things. I've been through that, and many of my friends and colleagues too. And this is part of what has induced me to make these videos. Maybe someone out there can find it useful. So I'm getting back to Ubuntu. And again, the reason, first of all, we talk about Linux, because once you can step out on that Linux platform instead of standing on the Windows or Apple platform, then you are free. Then you are in the free world. It's an open source operative system. It means you can make your own, you can hack it, you can change everything in it if you know how to do it. And you can then also be pretty sure that you know what it is. Because, I could download the source code for this operative system. Now, I get a little technical, I know. See all the program code, and I know exactly what it does. No one can hide that from me, such as is the case with these big corporations and their software that they sell to us. It's closed, it's locked, you can't look inside it. And it can have all kinds of backdoors leading this way, that way, and sending information and talking to their offices and servers all over the place. And the thing is that this is not a conspiracy theory. This is going on. And that includes also, which I forgot to say in the previous recording, web browsers. Web browsers are important in the whole equation here. If you have ever done what I did, I had a little, when I was running on Mac, I had a little program called Little Snitch, which is a little snitch that checks out what's going in and out of your computer, the traffic. And I fired it up, and then I fired up Google Chrome, and I was amazed how many servers all over the world that my little Google web browser on my little computer all of a sudden started to call up and contact and send information to, and I immediately just erased it because I thought, I got a web browser here, not some kind of information hub, communication hub or information gathering device from some big corporation out there. And this is really in the spirit that I'm making this. So here, as you may have seen, I mentioned it, I'm running a web browser, but it is Firefox. And Firefox is living more from in the old traditions of web browsers like Netscape. What is it called? What's it? I forgot the name of it. The original web browsers, they were simply browsing the web, and that was it. And they were just basically created and upheld, maintained by some organization and volunteer programmers. And as far as I know, this is much the case with this Firefox that you're looking at now. And I happen to think it's a very good web browser. I always use it. I think it's snappy, it's good, it's fast, and it's adhering to the standards, the World Wide Web Consortium standards. So because I work or have been working as a web developer, you know the different browsers pretty well, where they're good at and bad at, and I think this is a pretty good, reference web browser when you're developing, for instance, websites. So it's really good, and it comes with Ubuntu. And here we go to ubuntu.com. And as I said in my previous recording, let's say you want to try this, what this madman is saying here, how to get you free. Most will think, oh yeah, but this is very technical. Look here how high-tech it all seems to be. And yeah, if you feel like that, then forget about it. But the thing is that, while I'm pushing a little bit anyway, is that you might think I don't want to be a tech person, but if you're on Windows, you tend to have these technical problems a lot anyway. If you're on Apple, no problem. I mean, it's probably piece of cake, everything, and life is peaceful and all of that. But if you start feeling that, no, this is now getting, again, bloatware, it's getting too much features I never use, and it's they want to just impress me, and they want to add things into my computer that I don't want, and it takes too much space, and oops, and they control it here and there. And I mean, if you feel like that, then this is for you, at least to test. So what I'm saying is, this is the point where I was at, like 1 or maybe 2 years ago, I don't remember exactly, where I decided to give Linux a fair chance, to actually use myself as a guinea pig, to see if I can, with what I'm doing, use Linux for most of it. And I promise you, I won't get into it again, I already mentioned it, but if I can do it, most can do it, because I'm using some pretty heavy pieces of software for pretty demanding purposes. So anyway, if you want to give it a try, then, and you are basically in that situation that I described, then you may think, which I did then, are there programs to do this? Can I do this and that? And, maybe I won't be able to do what I'm doing now. So the best thing to do to check that out is to test it, which I decided to do. So I went here and I downloaded Ubuntu. It's very simple. I just want to show it step by step here. You click on download here on ubuntu.com. Now, you don't want to set up a server unless you're running some server somewhere, but you are on a desktop, meaning a normal computer. Now, here is a catch with Linux in general. It runs beautifully on most of, all the desktop computers there are, meaning those that you have on your table, on your floor, and all that, with the bigger ones. But laptops are a bit finicky. They are a bit peculiar, because different manufacturers of laptops, they make little things there that some or other. First of all, there are more functionalities in a laptop, features in a laptop. Of course, they always use Wi-Fi, which sometimes desktops don't do, because the cable is a better way, actually. At least it used to be. And they have all kinds of special things on the keyboard and this and that. So if you install Linux on a laptop, check out first if that. You can find this here actually somewhere on. If you look around, I'm not going to get into detail. Some kind of compatibility guide, which laptops Ubuntu works well with, and if there are issues, what those issues are. On some laptops, it used to be at least, the classical problem was that the Wi-Fi card didn't work, which is of course a game stopper. So sometimes when I installed Linux on laptops back years ago, I had to take the machine apart and put a new Wi-Fi card. But these kind of things we have to avoid here. So I'm just saying, check it out first. 2 computers I can recommend in general, Lenovo's laptops. They are known for being good Linux laptops in general. I'm not sure. I think it's a ThinkPad is the best. The others you have to check around. My favorite, and the favorite of many programmers, those who really, really use Linux, for heavy stuff, which doesn't, not necessarily require super powerful computer like media stuff like that, but programmers especially. One of the favorites of programmers is the Dell XPS 13, because you can buy it with Linux pre-installed, which means that the company who makes the computer have made it to work with Linux, and this is very good, a good thing to look for if you want to have a computer for Linux, a laptop for Linux. Get one with it pre-installed, or get one which you can normally get with it pre-installed, and buy it with Windows instead. This is what I did. Okay, what I did is let's say you want a laptop and you don't have one, and you think, I want to try Linux. Look for a brand and model that you can get with Linux or Windows, whatever you like. It means the machine works with Linux, right? Simple. But don't buy the Linux version, buy the Windows version, because then you have Windows too. And then you do what I'm going to show you in a few minutes, and install Ubuntu. I recommend. This is at least what I will do here, on that machine parallel with Windows, and you have a super duper good setup with a parallel booting of Windows and Linux, and it's the best you can have, I say. So which means you don't need to, if you know a little bit what you're doing, you don't need to risk or change or erase or anything your present Windows and all the programs that you have there and all the documents you have there. They live in their own universe, and you will install a parallel universe on your computer next to it with your Linux world in it, your Ubuntu world. And the reason, again, why I choose and recommend Ubuntu, I just mentioned it briefly last time, is that since that billionaire, whoever in South Africa, put a bunch of money to pay programmers to develop this specific version of Linux called Ubuntu, I mean, it seems like a philanthropic activity, really, because they give it out for free. Now, I recommend Ubuntu because it's the most mainstream. I mean, of course, there are Linux users who don't agree with, blah, 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 this Red Hat is or whatever it is. But I mean, it's, I would say, the most not commercial, but the most mainstream-ish developed. It's easy to install. It works well. You don't need to fiddle around, which Linux users are often used to do, fix here and there. Just, if you're a Linux user, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to these general people out there, the Apple users, those kind of people. And that's why I like Ubuntu, because it has reached that level of maturity that it can serve the purposes and interests of the quote-unquote Apple community, if you know what I mean. So anyway, without further ado, as some like to say, let's go ahead here. And when I click on downloading Ubuntu desktop, I get this, just save file, and you will see that the thing downloads, and it's 2.7 gigabyte. Actually, last time I said wrong. It wasn't downloaded. It was just opening up like this. So it's about a little smaller than Mac OS if you download and install it. Probably it's considerably smaller. Maybe it's half the size. I don't remember, but that's the first nice thing with Ubuntu. It's not bloatware. You download an operative system, you get an operative system that simply does the job of an operative system. And a good old, very, very mature and well developed through the years operative system, because it belongs to the family of Unix operative systems, which started off there as the operative system for computers back in the 60s and have been used in all the really, the big important business critical computers all over the world, like banks and this and that, and they always use Unix. And then that turned, and this Finnish guy, Linus Torvald, he made a clone of that, and it became Linux. So, and once you start learning about this operative system, you see that it is just beautiful. First of all, it's open, so you can look at what is inside. And it is beautiful. The whole architecture is charmingly archaic in certain ways. But once you learn it, it's there, and it looks the same year after year after year. I could look at probably a Unix from 1970 and understand how it works. So this is really one of those instances of where technology is good and it works and it's beautiful and it's really, how to say, tight and nothing unnecessary. But I'm not going to make a Linux course. You're talking about Linux kernel and all of the extensions and how, but it's effectively and very, very nicely made. And that's what you get here. The best, technically speaking, unarguably the most solid and the best operative system for a computer. And it's smaller than the big expensive commercial ones. It runs on slower computers. You can run it on practically anything. You can size it up and down from running on a little tiny device in your pocket up to running a control system for NASA or something. So it's fascinating. Now, I'm just saying all this while the download is going on, but I'm of course not going to wait for that, and I'm not really going to show you how you install this thing. That's the thing, you can find that somewhere else, many places. What I am going to show is, here, where do they say this? Installation guides for Ubuntu desktop. You see here, so once you downloaded it, you just have tutorials here. First of all, what you do is that you take that thing that comes down here, you find it on the downloads, and you burn it. You probably won't like to burn it on a DVD, but the simplest thing is to just have a little USB stick, stick it in your computer, and do what it says here, and then your Ubuntu will be on the USB stick. And then you just keep that little USB stick on your computer and restart the computer, and you follow this installation guide here, and that's basically it. Now, we could look a little at this installation guide. These are 11.0, where basically this means it's complete. So these are requirements. This is if you choose to do it from a DVD and burn a DVD, or you take your little flash USB stick. So then this is where we are, and okay, then you prepare. Here is basically the when you have run, you're sticking that USB stick, you start your computer, and you can choose whether you want to install Ubuntu or just test it, and you can just pretty safely click on install it, and all you need now is a decent amount of extra space on your hard drive. You have your Windows there with all the stuff, but there should be some, at least like, I would say 50 gigabyte or something. Otherwise, if you just want to test it, you can get down to 20. But if you want to do some serious stuff, then have something like that at least. Whatever, is up to you. But the installation itself I don't know exactly how much it takes, but I usually do something like that. And then you just stick in your stick, and then there are these usual questions, you want to make a normal installation, this and that. So you see, these steps here are super simple, really. Next one is, do you want to erase your disk and install Ubuntu? Now, if you have Windows on it, then you won't want to choose this one. This is like the most critical stage here, and therefore there's a warning here. This will delete all your programs, documents, photos, music, and any other files in all operating systems. Whatever is on your computer will be gone, and after this is done, you will only have a fresh Ubuntu. Normally you don't want that. So if you have Windows already installed on your computer, then there will be another option here. Here it says it has no detect operating system, but it says that you have already Windows. Do you want to install Ubuntu alongside Windows or something like that? So you choose that, and then you just go on like that. Begin installation. You see, begin, continue, and select your location. Where are you? You generally know where you are. Here I am. And then you have your login details, what is my name, and what do I want to call my computer. You can be very creative here. And then a username, and click continue. You see, if you compare this even to installation of Windows, Microsoft Windows, it's much simpler. So there you go, and then you just sit back and relax. There will be maybe a couple of questions if you want to install a lot of software now, or just minimal, or I don't remember, but it's generally something. I don't know why they don't show it, but it's no big deal. You just basically can just skip yourself through everything. Generally, you maybe shouldn't skip, but you just do it, right? It's a given. It just becomes self-evident. And then if you're, it used to be that if you are lucky, you get here. But now, most of the time, there is no problem with Linux. But, it's the same with all operating systems. Actually, when you install them, sometimes they fail. And you need to redo it or something like that. But if this you get here, no problem, you are good. And then you just restart your computer, and as you do, you will come to a prompt, a new thing there that you haven't seen before. It just asks you, do you want to start Ubuntu? Or you can just step down to the next line or so, where it says you want to start Windows, and there is your selector, your choice, if you want to start Ubuntu or Windows. So this is basically it. Now you restart your machine, you unplug that USB stick, and then you have it. You have your Windows, you have your Ubuntu, and you should be able to choose between the two when you start up. If you can't choose but only get into Ubuntu, then you have a slight problem that you could write about down here if you want in the comments. But it can be fixed, because we're not going to get too technical here. It's all information can all be found here on this community. There discussions they have. So just as with all other operative systems, there are always little peculiarities here and there, and of course Linux is not perfect. Only God is perfect. So we shouldn't idealize too much here. It's pretty darn good. That's all I can say. And I'm not one who spreads those kind of superlatives and adjectives around too much these days. So anyway, I'm trying to be quite down to earth and objective about it. If it works, it's good. If it doesn't, it's not good. That's basically our logic here. So yeah, this was it. I don't want to get into it deeper than that. I think you got some idea, and maybe also some idea whether you think this is something for you or not. And it's all up to you. I am just sharing my experiences here for whatever they are worth. Thank you very much, and let's see what happens in our next episode here. I don't even know.